So we're talking about inequalities here. We need to read the problem carefully, and then we need to make sure that when we get our answer, that what we get makes sense. So we start out reading this one. There's always clues with the inequalities. And we want to look for those words. So if I've got this one.
No.
Listen.
Yeah.
Okay, so we need to read it carefully and notice it says at least 320 points to get a B. Can she make more than 320? Yes. But if she wants a B, she has to make at least that. So that's one of our clues there, is that her grade needs to be greater than or equal to 320. So if we look at how many points that she has to begin with, she has 168 points for tests, 79 points for quizzes, and she's going to take a final exam that she can get 100 points on.
She's got to be better than that. She don't want to be.
Okay, well, she can make up to 100 on her test. So the exam is the one that we don't know what the grade is. Sometimes you're just looking for the equation. So if you're asked to find the equation or the inequality that represents a situation, that's what we would have. Then we can solve just like we were talking about earlier. We combine like terms. How many is that?
Oh.
We have 247. And then we need to subtract that from both sides. And so x is greater than or equal to what? Echoes. Okay, 73. So she needs 73 points at least to get a B. Now on inequalities, looking near the word problem, we need to think about what's reasonable. Why, think about this, would I need to write this?
Because it's it. At least that.
True.
But you did. I missed that.
Okay, she can't get more than 100, right? So this is kind of like our domain with the limit between a low and a high. If you're working on a test or whatever and you get this answer, I'm not getting high points for it. However, if we're on an English course test, a standardized test, something, it may be more specific in that you can only go up to a certain amount. So when we're talking about reasonableness of answers, think about the situation that you're dealing with. A good example of this is number 2. If we have a rectangle, it says the length are 2 sides of 4, and the width is what we're looking for. The perimeter is at most 20 feet. What does that mean?
20 or less.
Okay, 20 or less. It can't be more than 20. So we have a perimeter here of less than or equal to 20. How do we find perimeter of a rectangle? Add all sides. So I have W plus 4. The other W plus 4 has to be less than or equal to 20. Then, just like we talked about earlier, combine our like terms. 2W plus 8 less than or equal to 20. What do we want to do to both sides? We will divide by 2, but first we have to undo our addition and subtraction. 2W is less than or equal to 12. So W is less than or equal to 6. Do we need a limit on this one like we did up here? Is there a high and a low? Okay, there's high, 6. Is that number less than 6? Can it be a side? We're talking about what
Yes,
here?
that number is less than 6.
But can you have a side of negative 10 feet and still have a rectangle?
No.
No. So we do need to clarify that our width has to be greater than 0, and it can go up to 6. It could be point whatever decimals, but it cannot be 0 because then we wouldn't have a rectangle, and it can be negative. Now, if you're talking about like a submarine or something that's drilling and it's talking about how many feet, or you're talking about temperature, that can have a negative answer. If you're talking about somebody's age, it can have a negative answer. Okay, so you've got to look at your problems and look at what's reasonable. Okay, I'm going to help you set up a couple of these and then have you go back and work them, but don't take the time to work them right now because we want to talk about the back. It's just going to be a little bit more complex, I guess, the word. Obtuse triangle. If you don't have a picture, draw it. What does obtuse mean?
Regular triangle.
Like over 90.
It's got to be over 90, but all the angles in the triangle add up to 180, so it has to be less than that. So if this one is 6D, then that means it has to be strictly less than 180. Because if it's equal to 180, do we have a triangle?
No.
No. Because if it's equal to 180, we would have a straight line up here, and so that wouldn't work. So it's got to be less than. That one should be pretty easy to solve. I'm going to leave 4 for you to do. You can do it, it's not hard. Look at number 5. What does acute mean?
Less than 90.
It's got to be less than 90. Can it be equal to 90?
No.
No, if it's equal to 90, what kind of triangle is it?
Right.
It's a right triangle. Okay? So, it has to be less than. So those are some mixing of some geometry and things of how you would set them up. And why sometimes we have less than or equal to, and sometimes we have just less or just greater. So pay attention to those words. Mixture.
Geometry is easier than I was like.
Some people think it is, some don't.
Oh,
Okay, these are the ones that I want to focus on because there's always one of these problems thrown in somewhere and everybody thinks they're so hard, and they're really not. What does the word consecutive mean?
Like in order kind of.
Okay, in order. Like you say a lot of times, a football player or somebody has so many consecutive starts. It means it's in order without a break in that sequence. Now, it could be evens, it could be odds, it could be thirds, but whatever they're counting by, it's even increment and there's not a break in it. So it says, we want to have specific patterns to solve problems. So if we have consecutive integers, these are in order. This example is 5, 6, 7, 8. So if my first number is x, what do I do to 5 to get 6? I add 1. What do I do to 5 to get 7? I add 2. And so what would I do to 5 to get 8? Add 3. So if we're talking about consecutive integers, things in order, then I'm going to continuously be adding 1 each time. Doesn't matter if I start with positive, negative, have 1,000, then 1,001, 1,002, 1,003, so on. Okay, so if we have consecutive integers, we're going to say our first number, second number, third number, so on. So look at number 7 here. We want to have the sum of 3 consecutive numbers to be 24. So if this is my first number, I don't know what it is, 6. My second number is going to be 1 more than that. X plus 1. Your third number is going to be 1 more than that, just like our pattern here. And sum obviously needs to add. And so we can write our equation.
I know what the numbers are.
But think about it if you want to put parentheses around them, here's my first number, here's my second number, here's my third number. sometimes you'll see these already combined. If we add our x's and our 1 and 2, we have 3x plus 3 equals 24. But now it's a pretty easy equation to solve. What are we going to do to both sides? Subtract 3, then divide by 3. So, if I subtract 3, I get 21. If I divide by 3, I get 7. The most common mistake we have with consecutive integers, besides writing it, is it says, what are the numbers? 7's not my only answer. What are my answers? 7. Is that the 7?
Oh,
8.
And
no,
9. So those are the 3 consecutive numbers that will add up to be 24. Okay, let's back up here at the top. If we have even and odd, if you go from 2, 4, 6, 8, 3, 5, 7, 9, you're skipping a number in between. So if my first number is x, how do I go from 2 to 4? You add 2. You go from 2 to 6. And then from 2 to 8, add 6. We have odd numbers. How do you go from 3 to 5? Add 2. So let's get to the numbers. How do you go from 3 to 7? And 3 to 9. So what do you notice about even and odd? They're the same pattern, right? So we only have 2 patterns, so to speak, when we're dealing with consecutive integers. We either have them one right after another, so we add 1 each time, or we have even or odd, which means we add 2 because we're skipping it. Start with even, do every other one, you're going to get even. Start with odd, do every other one, you're going to get odd. So let's get down and look at number 9. Sum of 3 consecutive odd integers is less than 54. If we're talking about odd, and my first number is x, are we going to be doing x plus 1 or x plus 2? X plus 2, because I want the next odd one, which means it's going to skip. And you can put in parentheses, it makes it easier to see. So the next one, what's it going to be? X plus 4. Because you can always check and say, okay, if this was 1, I'd have 1, 3, 5. Okay? It may not be that, but that's going to tell you you're doing odd. Is less than 54. Well, it's 54.
that was your first 2.
What did you do? What's your first number? I want the next odd, so I have to add 2. I want the next odd, so if this would be 1, I would have to add 4 to get to the next one. You always go back to your original number. You add 2, 4, 6, 8, however many you need. If it asks for 5 of them, you'd want to do plus 6, plus 8. It only asks for 3. First number, second number, third number. So if I combine like terms, I have 3x plus 6 is less than 54. What are we going to do to both sides?
Subtract 6.
Okay, subtract 6. So we have 3x is less than 48. What's that? You sure? X is less than 16, but what kind of numbers are we looking for? Odd. What's the first odd number less than 16? 15. So we're wanting 15, then what? 17 and 19. And we can double check if we add those together. I think we get 51, which is less than 50. So you gotta be careful about that, less than or greater than, so on. So if we're talking about 3 consecutive integers for 48, that's my first one. What are we adding to this one? 1 or 2? 1, because it didn't say even or odd. So I'm just going up by 1 each time. On number 8, remember that we're talking about at least. Means it can be more. Okay. So look at those 2 words as to what you're doing. I never got in trouble.
I was my Clemson coach. So.
Find it in the back of Ash's car.